আমন্ত্রণ আন্তর্জাতিক সম্পর্ক উন্নয়ন বিষয়ক আরটিভির নিয়মিত অনুষ্ঠান ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক জোনে। আপনাদের সঙ্গে আছি আমি সৈয়দ আশিক রহমান। আমাদের আজকের অতিথি বাংলাদেশে নিযুক্ত সুইডেনের রাষ্ট্রদূত হিজ এক্সেলেন্সি ইয়োহান ফ্রিসাল। Very welcome, Your Excellency, at RTV Studio.
Thank you very much.
Well, Excellency, you are working as ambassador of Sweden to Bangladesh. What is your experience here so far?
I've been here for 9 months now. I didn't know very much about Bangladesh when I came, but I'm very positively surprised with everything I see.
Positively surprised?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Surprised in a positive way, because I see a people that is very ambitious, entrepreneurial, forward-looking, finding solutions to all the problems. And there are a lot of problems in this country and elsewhere. But so that's the most positive. Very
Great.
open, very warm, very hospitable.
Great. Great.
So that's my greatest experience so far.
Oh, fantastic. Bangladesh and Sweden enjoying excellent bilateral relations. How do you anticipate this relation developing further in coming days?
There are a number of tracks. So far, I would say that our relations have been fairly limited in a few sectors.
Well,
We have been active with development corporations basically since independence in '71. And now, and that continues. We have just renewed our development aid commitment up to 2021 or 2022.
exactly.
The second strand that is very obvious is the production and export of ready-made garments from Bangladesh to Sweden,
Well,
where Bangladesh is very strong as an exporting and production country. But we now have to see what are the other sectors of cooperation that we have to fill. We have a lot of competitive Swedish companies who is exporting technological solutions, innovations, and I see very few of them here. Some are here. I see great potential in other sectors of production in Bangladesh
well,
that could be exported from Bangladesh to Sweden. So here we have a lot to do together, Sweden and Bangladesh, to see what else can we put for production here and sell to Sweden. But then also in the area of research, culture, there are so many areas that we have to develop.
what are the major achievements?
One achievement is definitely the fact that most Swedish fashion countries have Bangladesh as their most important or second most important production country for them.
Great.
And the company who is the largest buyer of Bangladeshi RMG is a Swedish company.
Swedish company.
H&M. Achievement in the other direction is that after 43 years of development cooperation in some of the key sectors in Bangladesh, we actually see a lot of progress. We have been in health and education almost throughout the history of our development cooperation. And if you see statistics for Bangladesh in terms of primary education, alphabetism, literacy, mother's health, population health, contagious diseases, Bangladesh has done enormous progress. Look at India and Pakistan, from which family you came in '47. You will see Bangladesh has more positive figures than both these countries. And that is because
among the countries.
Yes, and that is because consecutive governments in Bangladesh have been very stubborn and given emphasis to these areas, investing in human development, social development, and we have been supporting that, and we see some results. I'm very glad to do
Well, Excellency, what are the Swedish development priorities in Bangladesh, if you specify?
that. We are basically in 5 areas. Health. We have mentioned.
Well,
We are in education, primary education. We are now going into climate change and environment.
climate change. It's a very important issue here.
We are now moving into labor relations.
Labor relations.
Yes, how to get more women into the labor force and how to improve relations between employers and employees, factory management and trade unions. And the 5th area would be gender and human rights. So these are the key priorities for us.
What are the interesting sector in trade?
Well, apart from RMG, Bangladesh is a large exporter of some agricultural products, shrimp in particular.
Shrimps.
Yeah. But gradually, we are finding new products in Bangladesh. For example, carpets, ceramics, leather. These are products that are kind of copying the successes of RMG. So I want to promote that to find more buyers in Sweden that want to do this.
Well, what about footwear? It is developing day by day to actually the export is increasing to Europe.
So far, I have not seen any large Swedish companies that is buying footwear from here. I think there is a great potential. There is one key challenge is still remaining, and that is how you transform the leather industry to be chemical friendly and environment friendly. And in much of the industry here still, they use a lot of chemicals that are damaging environment.
Exactly.
Right now in Bangladesh, there is a transformation ongoing
Exactly.
to move over to ecological production of leather. And as soon as that is ready, I think the market in Sweden and Europe as a whole will be wide open.
We will talk, Excellency, with illegal migration issue, and you know about illegal migration through Mediterranean Sea. What is your opinion?
Migration takes place all over the world, and it has done since the beginning of mankind.
Exactly.
So we cannot just forget about it. We have to address it in one way. So we have agreed globally that we would like to have controlled migration and not irregular, not illegal. So to the extent possible, we have to have a global system where we regulate. How do you travel? You have a lot of migration from Bangladesh that is organized. A lot of people go to Saudi Arabia, other countries for work. It is controlled. And then they work 2 or 4 or 5, 6 years, they have to return back. So that is a good example. That's a good example of migration. In the Mediterranean, as well as we see now in India,
now what is going on?
Indian Ocean, we see waves of migration that is not controlled.
Exactly.
That is to the detriment of the people who is fleeing foremost, because they are suffering. Both from Europe's side, well, for Europe's side, we have to think of how can we, in one or the other way, promote legal migration.
Exactly.
Those who are fleeing from circumstances where their life is threatened, deep poverty, persecution, it's clear that the world has to find ways of help.
Find way for them and to give their hand to help them.
Yeah. Sweden receives a lot of refugees. We have done that for the last 40 years. Currently, we receive a lot of refugees from Syria. They are fleeing from the civil war.
What we find last week from Italy and European Union, the big quantity of people from Syria and other countries.
Yeah. So we are doing that. Of course, we need to have some kind of burden sharing.
Yes, burden sharing.
Every country has to do its part to be able to handle this. And as soon as a war is over or a draft, we also have to find ways of repatriating people as well. You have a migration issue in Southeast Asia as well, and a lot of people are fleeing from Myanmar. They are seeking a better life in Thailand or Malaysia or Indonesia, and many of those now fleeing on the Indian Ocean, they are fleeing because their rights are violated in Myanmar. So here I think one of the key facts to establish is that there is one singular most important, that is to create conditions in Myanmar for this population who has lived there for decades or centuries to live a normal life, respect for their rights, prospects for development. Right. People are also leaving Bangladesh because they look for jobs, they look for a better life. That could be Malaysia or Indonesia as well. And ideally, we would find forms for this to be controlled as well. Most of these people want to work for a few years and come back. So I think there should be ways to resolve this as well.
Excellency, we'll talk more about this after a short break. দর্শক দেখছেন আন্তর্জাতিক সম্পর্ক উন্নয়ন বিষয়ক আরটিভির নিয়মিত অনুষ্ঠান ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক জোন। এই পর্যায়ে নিচ্ছি বিরতি, ফিরছি একটু পরেই। সে পর্যন্ত আমাদের সাথেই থাকুন। দর্শক, আবারও আমন্ত্রণ আন্তর্জাতিক সম্পর্ক উন্নয়ন বিষয়ক আরটিভির নিয়মিত অনুষ্ঠান ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক জোনে। কথা বলছিলাম বাংলাদেশে নিযুক্ত সুইডেনের রাষ্ট্রদূত হিজ এক্সেলেন্সি ইয়োহান ফ্রিসেলের সঙ্গে। ওয়েলকাম এগেইন। উই আর টকিং about RMG sector, but RMG is one of the priority sectors to export in Sweden from Bangladesh. How Bangladesh may create opportunity to work with Sweden more and more in this sector, RMG sector?
Right now, the RMG sector in Bangladesh is a superpower.
Superpower.
It is so strong by itself because it has proven over these years, since the 1980s,
Very good recommendation.
that they are innovative, they are responsive to what the brands, the fashion companies in Europe and North America need. So for the companies itself, they are already home safe.
Well,
What can the surrounding environment in Bangladesh do to promote it even further? And I think it's quite clear. You have a water issue. How can the surrounding society, government, local authorities do to help with the provision of fresh water? What can we do with wastewater? How do we do with energy so we can support a sustainable supply of energy for these factories?
Exactly.
And transportation and logistics. So the road for raw materials to the factories and the ready garments to be shipped out. This government has a very ambitious program to improve all of these sectors.
exactly.
And that, I think, is the key. There is one more aspect. We have to make life for the RMG employees sustainable as well. So how do we promote that the factory workers get a salary, a wage that they can live from?
Well.
How can we make sure that they work in safe factories?
Well,
So these are issues that I want our companies from Sweden to be active, and I want also factories in Bangladesh to take this seriously.
Swedish government assists into water sanitations through their different partners. Do you think that they are in the right track?
Our water and sanitation assistance goes primarily to the urban poor.
Urban poor.
And that means those coming and staying in informal slums in the large cities.
Well.
Here, government or city corporation services are very weak. So many of the services needed, water, sanitation, also education, there you need support.
Well.
In the medium term, of course,
Which kind of support and what is your advice if you tell elaborately?
the key to all of this is urban planning.
Well,
Much of these slums, of course, have happened outside of any urban planning.
Well.
So for any city or government authority, they have to reclaim also these slums. Bashantek, Korail is a part of our responsibility. So
Well.
what can we do to put back also these areas in the realm of city planning, urban planning? Because then you have to look at transportation, water, sanitation, electricity, everything. It's going to be a huge challenge, but you cannot avoid it. Right now, there are estimates that in Greater Dhaka area, there are 16 million people.
exactly.
World Bank believes that in 15 years, there will be 27 million people. That is one estimate. I hope it will not come to that point. 27 million people in Greater Dhaka. If you start regaining planning control, how do we want these urban settlements to develop? How can we support by government means, city corporation means? So it's a huge task. There will be support from donors, from UN organizations to this, but I think you have to regain saying, these people living in these slums is also our responsibility.
Well, would you please tell about your He for She campaign?
Yes. He for She is a campaign that was initiated by the United Nations Organization for Women and Gender
Women.
Equality. And it's a very basic idea. How do we achieve gender equality and women's emancipation in any country, any society in the world? In many instances, we see that those engaging for gender equality, that's only women.
Well,
But if men don't engage, how can we change the system? So He for She is just a call to all men, boys and men, normal people in government, in business, all over, to say, yes, I have a role to play to promote gender equality. Everything you do, the things you say, the thing you do at work, at home, how you treat your wife, has an impact on gender equality. So the He for She is very simple. We are going to mobilize as many men as possible to say, gender equality concerns me, I can do something to promote it.
well. So, what are the response you are getting?
I get a mixed response.
Mixed response.
Mixed response.
Like,
Well, it is easy to say, if you don't think about it, yes, gender equality is fine. And most men in Sweden and Bangladesh say, yes, I'm for it. But what does it mean really? In your everyday situation, what can you really do practically?
well,
You're a manager, I'm a manager. What do I do to understand this situation of women in your workplace? If you are hiring a middle manager, do you measure the competence and the skills of a woman in the same way as a man? Exactly. So we really have to, almost on a daily basis, think out of the box. And that is the difficult part.
Well, Excellency, what about education in Sweden? Students getting scholarship from Sweden, and there is not large quantity, but how we can increase the number of students to promote study?
In Sweden, we have traditionally spoken Swedish. So much of the tuition has been in Swedish. But now gradually that is changing. A lot of the university level education is now in English. And that opens a lot of opportunities for Bangladeshis to study. Clearly, UK, Australia, US, they have always had education in English. So, I mean, the market has been there for a long time. But we are changing this in Sweden now. So actually, you can apply for a lot of different science level, master's level education in Sweden. So
and research level, I think,
as well.
Some Swedish universities are doing very well in research.
So we have to promote that. There is a scholarship given by something called the Swedish Institute. That's our
Swedish Institute.
That's our Science and Culture and Education Promotion Bureau.
Right.
So most often they have calls for scholarships every year. Last time it was on, they announced about 400 scholarships worldwide.
Well,
and out of them, Bangladeshis took about 70 positions, 70 out of 400.
So 70 out of 400?
Yes. So Bangladeshis were the most competitive students to obtain these scholarships. It's a very good scholarship because it covered tuition, living expenses, school books, even travel. So it's so it's a very good scholarship. I wish it would be even greater. So this is coming up now again in autumn. So I encourage all Bangladeshi students, that is
to apply,
for master students, to apply, because you apply twice. You have to apply for the university itself where you want to study, and at the same time you apply for the scholarship. And then, so you have to match these two at the same time.
We are almost end of the program. Any final thought for our viewers?
Good question. No, I'm very happy to see this country developing. It's a very young nation, and also with long historic roots. Bengali culture, Bengali people has been around for very long. But I think when we look at Bangladesh, we have to recognize that it was under British colony for 200 years, and then you had actually a second period of colonies where actually West Pakistan basically controlled and exploited East Pakistan. So the history of Bangladesh actually starts in 1971.
Very young country.
And from 71, I was even born before 71. So in this short time, I think a lot of things have happened. And I see Bangladesh as a very progressive country. You have found, even in your constitution of 72, a balance between how to respect traditions, but also standing up for the secular country, where people of different religions can live together, and even people without religion. So it's a pluralistic country. Of course, the majority are Muslim Bengalis, but there is room for everyone. And I think this is something you should safeguard.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your nice word, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
দর্শক, সুইডেন বাংলাদেশের ঘনিষ্ঠ রাজনৈতিক বন্ধু। দুই দেশের মধ্যে রয়েছে 4 দশকেরও বেশি সময়ের সম্পর্ক। স্বাধীনতার পর থেকে দেশটি আমাদের স্বাস্থ্য খাত সহ বিভিন্ন ক্ষেত্রে সহযোগিতার হাত বাড়িয়েছে। গেল 1 দশকে দেশটির সাথে বাংলাদেশের বাণিজ্য সুবিধা বেড়েছে উল্লেখযোগ্য হারে। মাননীয় রাষ্ট্রদূতের কথা সূত্র ধরেই আমরা বলতে চাই, ভবিষ্যতে দুই দেশের মধ্যকার দ্বিপাক্ষিক এই সম্পর্ক আরও উন্নত এবং দীর্ঘস্থায়ী হবে। এই প্রত্যাশা শেষ করছে আজকের ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক জোন। এতক্ষণ আমাদের সাথে থাকার জন্য ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে।